Hello, welcome back to Tottenham Logic TV. Today I want to talk about our next opponents in the Europa League, and that's Qarabag. I want to have a little insight into who they are and what their form's been in Europe in the past season, and it's not as bad as you actually think they are, so we shouldn't really be taking them lightly. I also want to have a little insight into why beating them with our squad players could be the turning point for this season. It really can be. I want to have a little talk about Jed Spence as well, and Bentancur and his role in the Europa League now. But before getting to all that, please smash that like button. It really helps this channel grow. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. I'm only 40 away from 1K now, and that would be amazing. So, and it's all appreciated as well. Everybody that supports this channel, much appreciated. So let's look at what happened to the squad players the last time they played. We played against Coventry last Wednesday, and it was a terrible performance. It really made a lot of Spurs fans think our squad wasn't as strong. I'm not giving excuses, but we played away to Coventry. It was a cup game. They were up for it. They were fighting. They were going in for every challenge, every aerial duel. And the players we put out, we had a few first teamers, but we had a lot of squad players. And these squad players have not played hardly any games this season, and they were thrown into a game like that. It's not easy, but I think they handled themselves pretty well, and we got through in the end. I know we had to put in some first teamers, but we got through. I'm not using that as an excuse, but it is a reason. Sometimes it's not that easy just to go into a game and just dominate a team. So Solanke was coming back from fitness in that game too, so he wasn't on it either. So let's talk a little bit about Qarabag and how all Spurs fans at the moment think this is just going to be a walkover, it's going to be easy. Don't get me wrong, sometimes Qarabag can be good and sometimes they can be absolutely crap. I hope we get the crap version of them, but let me just give you an example. Last season in the Europa League, they were in a group stage. They started off in the Champions League, by the way, but didn't get through their group, ended up bottom, and then they dropped down to the Europa League, which doesn't happen anymore. And they ended up in a group with Bayer Leverkusen, BK Häcken, and Molde from Switzerland. And they finished second in that group and qualified in the Europa League last season, which nobody thought they would do. Then they were in the knockout stages against Braga, and lost 3-2 in the first game and beat them 4-2 in the second game, but beat them 6-5 in total after extra time. So they qualified for the next round. So they ended up in the round 16 last season, where they played Bayer Leverkusen. And Bayer Leverkusen, if you remember last season, went undefeated. I think the only team to beat them was Atalanta in the final of the Europa League last season. And they were undefeated all season in the league, and they topped Bayern Munich, remember. So they played so Qarabag played Bayern Munich in the round of 16 last season. The first game was 2-2, and the second game was 3-2 to Bayer Leverkusen. So they only lost to Bayer Leverkusen 5-4 in a knockout match. So they're not a walkover. Bayer Leverkusen was brilliant last season. So we can't take them lightly. I'm telling you now, they're not that bad. Especially if you're not going to be playing your first team. So it's going to be a very close and very hard-fought game, unless the Qarabag turns up that are not so good. Because when they played Leverkusen in the group stages, they lost 5-1 to them. So they can either be good or they can either be crap. I don't think there's no in between with them. So hopefully we get the poor version of them. What would this do for our squad? So what would it mean? How can this take us on to another level? How can this catapult our season? How can this transition from us from being half decent squad to a decent squad? So if we beat Qarabag and we played a lot of our youngsters and we played our squad players, it will show we have capable players to come in when we inevitably get injuries or suspensions. It will give Ange peace of mind that he can rest first teamers and reduce risk of injuries. This could also provide competition for places, which will level up performances of the players. This will also breed confidence throughout the whole squad and make everyone feel part of the process. So beating Qarabag is not just beating Qarabag. It's showing Ange that we have 24 capable players. I'd say 22 capable players. I'm not including all the goalkeepers we've got, but say 22 capable players of playing at any moment when being brought in. So when we had that drop off last season with injuries, it was a massive drop off. We don't. The whole point of bringing these youngsters in is so the drop off isn't as bad. I've got the energy to come in to play Ange's system, to press, harass, even when when our first teamers are tiring. I think that's why they were brought in, and then eventually become first teamers later on. I want to speak a little bit about Jed Spence, and I'm a little bit pissed off, to be honest, that Jed Spence has been left out of the Europa League squad, so he can't play. But we're taking four goalkeepers, and Forster's one of them. Forster was awful against Coventry. He really was awful, and we could have just played Brandon Austin in goal and took Jed Spence instead. That's my opinion. That's what I would have done. But we're lacking in defensive options as it is. So not having him is going to be a big miss, in my opinion. And now Bentancur, he's going to be suspended for Premier League games. So the FA have suspended him. He can't play in FA Cup or League Cup either. So his main role now is going to be the Europa League. So the good thing about that is at least he can still play, at least he can stay match fit, because we're going to have a lot of Europa League games. It also, it doesn't give us the option off the bench for the Premier League games, but he was playing so well. He played brilliantly against Brentford, and he's going to be a massive miss for Premier League games, but at least he'll be the experienced guy we can use in the Europa League games and hopefully get us over the line for that. And by the time his ban's finished, he can start coming back in the Premier League full fitness and all that sort of stuff. So that's all good. Let me know in the comments what you think about everything I've spoke about today. Do you think it's going to be an easy win against Qarabag, or do you think Spurs are going to roll them over, especially with our squad players? And come on, you Spurs.